And how do you do? We're at chapter 33, verse 20 of the book of Job. How are my listeners doing? Continuing, so that his life abhors bread, and his soul dainty meat. His flesh is consumed away that it cannot be seen, and his bones that were not seen stick out. Notes. Now he is referring here to Job's chasing or chastisement regarding his physical sickness, which really wasn't a chastisement at all. But anyways, that's an accusation. Verse 22. Yes, his soul draws near unto the gates, and his life to the destroyers. If there be a messenger with him, an interpreter, one among 1,000, to show unto man his uprightness. Notes. In effect, Elihu is telling Job that he is the messenger with the interpretation of Job's problems. He is saying, I am one among 1,000. Now only youthfulness with its immaturity and ignorance would dare make such kind of stupid statements. I mean, it takes a real knucklehead to claim something like that. Verse 24. Then he is gracious unto him, and says, deliver him from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom. Notes. Well, he's saying that he's going to be gracious to Job. And if Job will listen to him, his soul will be settled, and his physical body will be healed, and joy will return unto Mr. Job. If you just only listen to Uncle Elihu right here, everything's going to be fine. Job didn't dignify this man with a response. Verse 25. His flesh shall be fresher than a child's. He shall return to the days of his youth. He shall pray unto God, and he will be favorable unto him, and he shall see his face with joy. For he will render unto man his righteousness. Notes. So, to obtain God's righteousness, all Job has to do is listen to Uncle Elihu. Now, such words sounds very greatly familiar, now don't they? You probably hear that from modern preachers nowadays. Well, you just reach out to the television and you grab a hold of one of those dials and you click it over a couple of times. That'll solve a lot of your problems. Verse 27. He looks upon men, and if any say, I have sinned, and perverted that which was right, and it profited me not, he will deliver his soul from going into the pit, and his life shall see the light. Notes. He's saying that if Job would only repent, okay? So to keep from going to hell, Job should listen to Elihu. Verse 29. Lo, all these things works God oftentimes with man. Notes. Now, in essence, Elihu is saying that Job's situation is really not that uncommon. He could not be more wrong. How many men in history have been the subject of a contest between God and Satan? Now, perhaps some, but not many, and certainly not that many that have been tested quite like this man has. Verse 30. To bring back his soul from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living. Mark well, O Job, and hearken unto me. Hold your peace, and I will speak. Notes. Now it does seem that Job, at this particular time, may have attempted to answer the impertinence of this young man, but he is told by Elihu to just simply keep quiet. What kind of respect is that? Verse 32. If you have anything to say, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify you. If not, hearken unto me. Hold your peace, and I shall teach you wisdom. Notes. When Elihu claims that he is able to justify Job, Job evidently realized that it would be foolish to dignify this young man's statements with an answer. I mean, what arrogance to say that you're going to stand before this type of person and tell them that if you just repent or listen to me, I will give you wisdom. Now, what kind of respect is that? What arrogance? especially in his notion that he could actually teach Job wisdom. He was smarter than all of these so-called friends probably put together. Chapter 34. Furthermore, Elihu answered and said, Hear my words, O ye wise men, and give ear unto me, you who have knowledge. Notes. The first 15 verses of this chapter are spoken to the three friends, with the remaining verses actually spoken to Job. So you have to kind of pay attention there to to who's being addressed. Verse 3. For the ear tries words as the mouth tastes meat. Let us choose us to judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am righteous, and God has taken away my judgment. Notes. Now this was a proverbial statement over here in verse 3. It meant it is as much the business of the ear to discriminate between wise and foolish words as of the palate to distinguish between wholesome and unwholesome food. And as far as verse 5, it is true that Job maintained his righteousness in a certain sense, but still he had not maintained that he was, he didn't ever say that he was perfect and that God had just simply taken away judgment. You'll never find that anywhere here. Verse 6, Should I lie against my right? My wound is incurable without transgression. Notes. Now Job had in fact maintained that transgressions were not the cause of his terrible condition. Okay. Verse 7. What man is like Job, who drinks up scorning like water, which goes in company with the workers of iniquity and walks with wicked men? Notes. Now that was totally untrue, and Job had certainly not scorned the Lord. As a matter of fact, he didn't even really scorn his friends who scorned him. I mean, they looked down upon him. Verse 9. For he has said, It profits a man nothing that he should delight himself with God. Oh boy. Palm right to the forehead. What kind of stupid statement is that? Job never said that. Verse 10. Therefore, hearken unto me, you young men of understanding. Far be it from God that he should do wickedness, and from the Almighty that he should commit iniquity. Notes. Now, to say that God is not wicked, well, that's kind of an obvious statement, and I think that this man is saying these things to try and make him look intelligent. Verse 11. For the work of a man shall he render unto him, and cause every man to find according to his ways. Yes, surely God will not do wickedly, neither will the Almighty pervert judgment, who has given him a charge over the earth, or who has discovered the whole world. If the Lord set his heart upon man, if he gather unto himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh shall perish together, and man shall turn again unto dust. Notes. Now, why did the Lord desire that the ramblings of this man be placed in the sacred text? Among other reasons, he did so to show us that intellectualism is not really the answer. In fact, without a true revelation from the Lord, one cannot understand the Lord or His Word. You can find that in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 9 through 10. So this guy is basically pontificating, making himself look like a Mr. Big Shot. 16. If now you have understanding, hear this. Hearken to the voice of my words. Shall even he who hates right govern? And will you condemn him who is most just? Notes. Now by saying that, Elihu now accuses Job of condemning God. The young man insults Job also by saying that his words will be so wise that Job possibly will not be able to understand them. In fact, they will actually be the complete opposite. I mean, this guy is just so full of hot air and so full of himself, it's just really kind of embarrassing to have to read this. Verse 18. Is it fit to say to a king, you are wicked, and to princes, you are ungodly? How much less to him who accepts not the persons or princes, nor regards the rich more than the poor, for they all are the work of his hands. In a moment they shall die, and the people shall be troubled at midnight, and pass away, and the mighty shall be taken away without hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of man, and he sees all his goings. Notes. Now Elihu is telling Job basically that the Lord has seen everything that Job has done. And of course, we're talking about indirectly accusing him of, well, he's accusing him of wickedness by doing that. Verse 22. There is no darkness nor shadow of death where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. Notes. Now, keep in mind he's saying this to Job. He is accusing him of being full of iniquity and therefore trying to hide himself from God. Well, that's not true. He was seeking an audience with God to try and talk with him. So this is utter nonsense. He wanted to get things straightened out with God, seeing what the matter really was. Verse 23. For he will not lay upon man more than right, that he should enter into judgment with God. Notes. So according to Elihu, what he just said, what the Lord has done to Job is right because Job is so wicked. Well, the fact of the matter is, God did not do this to Job. It was Satan. And Satan would have done that to righteous or wicked. Verse 24. He shall break in pieces mighty men without number, and set others in their stead. Notes. So Job was once mighty, and the Lord has now broken him in pieces. Now, that's somewhat true, but not for the reasons that Elihu or the three friends have said. Matter of fact, God didn't do anything to him. God allowed these things to happen, but it's only to bring Job to a greater understanding and a greater blessing. Whenever you're being tested, whenever you're finally done with the test, you're going to be blessed. Verse 25. Therefore he knows their works, and he overturns them in the night, so that they are destroyed. He strikes them as wicked men in the open sight of others. Notes. And thus he describes Job, or so he thinks. Job lost his wife, his family, his house, his possessions. He lost everything. Therefore, God is judging him, and therefore he's striking him down as a wicked man in the open sight of others with this horrible illness, and so far God has turned Job into a ruined heap of nothingness. Well, that's at least what Elihu thinks. Verse 27. Because they turned back from him and would not consider any of his ways. Notes. Now here he directly accuses Job of forsaking the ways of God. It's not what God said. Verse 28. So that they cause the cry of the poor to come unto him, and he hears the cry of the afflicted. Notes. Now here we have someone accusing Job of oppressing the poor. Once again, here we go. Verse 29. When he gives quietness, who then can make trouble? And when he hides his face, who then can behold him? Whether it be done against a nation or against a man only. Note. Elihu is accusing Job of trying to escape the wrath of God. Verse 30. That the hypocrite reign not, lest the people be ensnared. Notes. He calls the great patriarch a hypocrite. Now, what kind of a friend is that? I mean, I've said that about a dozen times or more, but seriously, what kind of a friend is this Elihu to Job? Well, not a very good one. We'll have to pick up in chapter 34, verse 31 of the book of Job. Thank you, and God bless.